You will fail if you look at the successful brands. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Copying successful brands might feel like the smart move, like you're learning from the best, but it's quietly killing your growth. And I know that sounds dramatic, but stick with me because by the end of this video, you have a clear way to analyze your brand and avoid the copying trap so you can actually build something that lasts. Most people think that they're being strategic when they model their content after brands that are crushing it. They see a competitor get thousands of likes with a specific caption format, so they use it. They watch a viral TikTok blow up, so they recreate it with their own product, right? They notice every brand in their space doing carousel posts about 5 ways to blah, blah, blah. So they make one too. And look, I get it. When you're building a brand from scratch or trying to grow, it feels safer to follow what's already working. But here's what's actually happening. You're training your audience to see you as interchangeable. You're building someone else's brand, not yours. So today, we're breaking down what copying really looks like, why it's sabotaging your growth even when it feels like it's working, and most importantly, I'm giving you a framework and actionable steps you can use immediately to build a brand that people actually remember and connect with. Now let's start with what copying actually looks like in practice, because most people don't even realize they're doing it. Picture this. A brand sees a TikTok audio trending. Hundreds of thousands of videos are using it, which is great. So they jump on it too. Same audio, similar format, same hook structure. Maybe they switch out their product, add their logo, but the core idea, identical. Or here's another one. A competitor launches a giveaway that gets massive engagement. So you also launch a giveaway with almost the same rules, same entry requirements, same price structure. You're not stealing, you're just doing what works. Or maybe you scroll through your feed and see every brand in your industry posting motivational quotes on Mondays, behind the scenes content on Wednesdays, product highlights on Fridays. So you do the same thing. It's predictable, it's safe, it feels like you're keeping up. Here's the problem. All of these are examples of imitation disguised as strategy, and there's a critical difference between inspiration and imitation that most people just miss. Inspiration is when you see something that sparks an idea and you ask, how can I take this concept and make it uniquely mine? How does this fit into my brand story? Imitation is when you see something working and you think, I need to do exactly that because it got results for them. When you are inspired, you're filtering ideas through your own lens. You're asking, how does this connect to your value, your audience, your unique perspective? When you're imitating, you're bypassing all of that and hoping the tactic alone will just carry you. And I'm not saying you should never look at what successful brands are doing. Of course, you should study them. But if you're copying their tactics without understanding the why behind them, without making them your own, you're building on sand. So let's talk about what happens when copying becomes your default strategy, because the impact is bigger than most people actually realize. First, there's no differentiation. When you're doing what everyone else is doing, your audience can't tell you apart from your competitors. They might engage with your content in the moment, but they wouldn't remember you. You become sort of like background noise. So think about it. If 5 brands in your space are all posting the same type of carousel with the same hook structure and the same visual style, why would someone choose to follow you over them? What makes you worth paying attention to? Second, you get shallow engagement. Sure, jumping on the viral trend gets you some likes or a few comments. But are those people actually connecting with your brand? Are they becoming loyal followers? Or are they just engaging with the trend itself and just Moving on. This is where a lot of brands get confused. They see the numbers and think it worked, but engagement without connection is empty. It doesn't build brand equity. It doesn't create customers who care about you specifically. And third, your results become widely inconsistent. So you try a trend and it just pops off, and then you try another one and it flops. You copy a competitor's campaign and it works, and then you copy another and it doesn't. So you're stuck in this frustrating cycle of guessing, hoping, and never really understanding what actually works for your brand. So here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. Does your content reflect who you are as a brand, or does it just reflect what's trending? When someone looks at your feed, can they tell what you stand for, what makes you different, what your story is? Or could your content belong to any brand in your category? And here's another one. Are your campaigns building a recognizable brand that people will remember and choose, or are you just mimicking what others do and just hoping it sticks? If you're not sure, that's a red flag, because without a clear answer to those questions, you're not building a brand, you're just making content. And there's a massive difference between the two. Now we get to the good stuff. The framework and actionable insights you can actually use to stop copying and start building a brand that stands out. At Ideeva Lab, we use something called the culture triangle. It's the foundation for everything we do, and it's the framework that keeps brands from just falling into the copying trap. The culture triangle has 3 points: identity, content, and community. Identity is who you are as a brand. It's your values, your story, your voice, your perspective. It's the lens through which you see the world and interpret everything that comes your way. Content is how you communicate that identity. It's every post, every campaign, every touch point. It's the vessel that carries your message and the way you choose to show up. Community is who you are building for. It's the people you're serving, their needs, their aspirations, their challenges. It's understanding them deeply enough that you can create content that resonates on a level that goes beyond surface engagement. And here's why this matters. When all 3 points are aligned, you have a brand that is cohesive, memorable, and impossible to replicate. When they are not, you have a brand that is reactive, forgettable, and just easy to copy. Now let me show you how this works in practice. When you understand your identity, you have a filter for every decision you make. You see a trend, and instead of copying it blindly, you ask, does this align with who we are? Does this communicate our values? Does this fit into our story? If it doesn't, you don't do it. If it does, you adapt it so it comes through your unique perspective. When your content is aligned with your identity, it becomes impossible to copy. Because even if someone uses the same format or the same tactic, they can't replicate your perspective. They can't tell your story. They can't speak in your voice. And when you deeply understand your community, you know what they need, what they care about, what moves them. So instead of chasing trends that might or might not resonate, you're creating content that speaks directly to them in a way that feels personal and relevant. This is how you move from imitation to inspiration. You're not copying because you have your own lens. So everything that you create is filtered through your identity, communicated through your content, and designed to serve your community. Let me give you an example. Let's say there's a viral video format going around where brands are showing their day in the life. Everyone's doing it. Now, if you're operating without the culture triangle, you just copy the format and hope it works. But if you're using the framework, you ask, how can we show a day in our life in a way that reveals our identity? What aspects of our process or our values can we highlight that our community would just really find valuable? Suddenly, you're not making the same video as everyone else. You're making a video that only you can make because it's rooted in your unique perspective. Now, let me give you 5 practical steps that you can apply immediately to use this framework and build a brand that stands out. Step 1, define your identity clearly. If you can't articulate who you are as a brand in a few clear sentences, you're going to struggle with everything else. So sit down and write out your values, your mission, your perspective on your industry. What do you believe that others don't? What's your unique point of view? This becomes your filter for every decision. When you're considering a piece of content or a campaign, you run it through this filter and ask, does this align with who we are? Step 2, audit your content through the culture triangle. So go through your last 20 posts or your last few campaigns and ask yourself 3 questions. For each one, does this communicate our identity clearly? Does this serve our community meaningfully? Is this content we're proud of, or is it just us following what others are doing? Be honest with yourself. If you're seeing a lot of imitation and not enough unique perspective, that's your starting point for change. Step 3, build a content framework that reflects your identity. Instead of reacting to trends or just copying competitors, create a content framework that's rooted in who you are. This could be content pillars, recurring themes, or a specific narrative arc that you're building over time. For example, if one of your values is transparency, your content framework might include regular behind-the-scenes content, honest conversations about challenges, and storytelling that reveals your process. That's not copying, that's expressing your identity through content. Step 4, get to know your community deeply. Stop guessing at what your audience wants and start listening. Engage with them to ask questions. Pay attention to what they're saying in comments and DMs. The deeper you understand them, the better you can create content that resonates without needing to copy what others are doing. So when you know your community well, you can anticipate their needs and create content that feels personal and relevant, even if it's going out to thousands of people. Step 5, measure what actually matters. Stop obsessing over vanity metrics, Start tracking brand recall, loyalty, and preference. Are people remembering your brand after they see your content? Are they coming back? Are they choosing you over competitors? You can do this through surveys, through tracking repeat engagement, through customer feedback. These are the metrics that tell you whether you're building a real brand or just making noise. So here's where we land. Copying isn't inherently bad. Looking at what successful brands are doing and learning from them is smart. But doing it blindly, without filtering through your own brand lens, without understanding the why behind the tactics, that's what's dangerous. The brands that win aren't the ones that are doing what everyone else is doing. They're the ones that have a clear identity, content that expresses that identity authentically, and a deep understanding of the community that they are serving. And when you build your brand on the culture triangle, you stop copying because you don't need to. You have your own perspective, your own voice, your own way of showing up, and that's what makes you unforgettable. So, next time you're about to post, next time you're about to launch a campaign, or next time you see a trend and think, we should do that, just pause. Run it through your culture triangle. Ask yourself, does this align with my identity? Does this serve my community? Is this content I'm proud of, or am I just following what others are doing? So, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already because we drop new videos every week, and drop a comment below. Tell me which part of the culture triangle you think your brand needs to work on the most. Is it clarifying your identity, or is it creating better content, or perhaps It's understanding your community more deeply. We love to read every comment and would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.